to eat my lunch from watching that table of Vivian Lee and her entourage with his scarves that would just blow like in the wind, like she was taking an entrance into something, you know, different than just a commissary. And everybody was transfixed on that table. I mean, on that butcher table, watching her having lunch. And then I said, well, that's that director. What's his name? I couldn't think of his name. Stanley, of course. So finally, I got up enough courage to walk onto that set to see Vivian Lee working. And there she was on that ship. He had the whole ship there. That whole ship. I had never seen anything like that, ever, in my long career. And I'm standing in the water part, looking up at the ship, and she's in rehearsal. And my mouth was to fall open, you know, looking at her, and suddenly I hear this voice, "Who's that?" And I thought, nobody else here but me. And that's that director, you know, what's his name? I thought, oh my God, I shouldn't be here. So somebody, who I don't remember who it was now, came to my defense, who had worked with me.
Warner Klemperer?
Maybe it was Warner Klemperer, yeah. And thank you, Kat. And he said, that's Karen Sharpe, and she's. He said, okay. He said, you can stay. I said, oh, thank you. And I thought, this isn't right. I shouldn't be here. So I left. A few days later, I'm walking to the commissary, and Warner comes up to me and says, Karen, why didn't you stay? The other day, Stanley Kramer wanted to meet you. I said, oh, Stanley Kramer. I said, wait a minute. I said, is this film cast? Isn't it cast? He said, oh, I don't think that's what he had in mind. I said, well, you know, I don't do that. I said, if he wants to see me, he'll see me over the desk, and I'll be happy to read for him if he wants. But I said, I don't date any of these people. So I get a call from my manager. Mr. Kramer would like to take you to dinner. I said, you know me. I don't do this. You say no, you get me out of it. This went on for about 9 months.
Wow.
And finally, my manager agent said to me, you know what? You talk to him. I'm tired of telling this tap dancing for you. I feel ridiculous saying you're working. I said, well, I am working. I'm always working, and I don't want to. He said, well, you tell Mr. Kramer. I said, fine. Have him call me. Miss Sharpe, this is Stanley Kramer. Call me Stanley. I said, okay. He said, can I take you to dinner? And I said, Mr. Kramer, I appreciate the offer, but I'm working. He said, you're always working. I said, yeah, I know. He said, well, can't you throw on a pair of blue jeans and just, I said, Mr. Kramer, I don't wear blue jeans, and I'm not interested in having dinner, but thank you for the offer. So finally, I said, okay, call me in 2 weeks. And so he said, I will, and he did. And finally said, okay, I said, I can do it on Monday night at 6 to 8.
3-minute warning. That's all it is.
Is it over?
No, it's just 3 minutes.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll make it fast. I only have from 6 to 8 o'clock because I'm going to be working the next morning. But I'll meet you at the Tail of the Cock. There was 2 Tail of the Cock restaurants in Los Angeles. One was in Beverly Hills, one was in the Valley. And he said, oh, the one in Beverly Hills. I said, no, the one in the Valley. Dead silence. I said, obviously there's a stigma about living in the Valley. I said, you know, it's fine. I said, Mr. Kramer, I wouldn't want to come over the hill either, so don't worry about it. He said, no, I'll be there. I said, okay. So 6 o'clock, I walk into the Tail of the Cock in the Valley. He's waiting for me. We had dinner, and I spent the whole dinner while he was telling me the story of his life. I'm doing, oh yes, 8 o'clock, I don't know. So it was a disaster, let me tell you. So the next day, my agent comes to see me. I think I was doing Gunsmoke this time. And he said, how did it go with Kramer? I said, okay, I got a little news flash for you. First of all, I'm never going to work for him. And your clients that you handle probably are never going to work for him either, because I was rude. I did my thing. I did you a favor, so don't speak about it ever again, but don't ever let me get involved with that kind of thing again. So I finished the shoot. I ended up in the hospital with an appendix that was about to burst. It got all over the news, told what hospital I was in, and everything else. So guess who sends me flowers at the hospital? Guess who calls me on the phone in my private room? Can I bring you dinner when you get home from the hospital? And I said, sure. And he did. And I asked a friend of mine to drop in just casually so I didn't have to carry the whole conversation and be rude again. Because I didn't feel too much like having dinner and being nice and smiling and laughing and pretending to be enjoying myself. So the friend and Stanley bonded. And he was an actor, of course. An actor's going to bond, you know? That actor's going to get that job somehow. So he says, you'll have to come to my house, he said, and have dinner. I'm a great chef. I said, well, he really is a great chef. He said, bring Karen. So Stanley said, I said, no, I'll tell you what, I said, I'll meet you there, which I did. Did it 3 or 4 times, fell madly in love with him, married him, and never looked back.
I was saying that she worked for him in her first, one of her main jobs to get her SAG card, the sniper, and he was the producer,
16,
but she
yeah.
didn't meet him then. That was years before. I guess we're finished. We're going to start.
Well, I watched the pilot.
Okay.
So thank you to
Yes, thank
my
you.
sister, Mom, and I just can't believe we finally had this magical moment happen. We've been trying to plan this for so long.
I appreciate
So
your advice.
everybody gets to see the pilot
I really
episode
appreciate it.
starting in Karen Sharpe.